What's up, guys? Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp quick tutorial for you. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about how to quickly change colors of materials inside of SketchUp. If you're looking for more great SketchUp tips, make sure you check out my free SketchUp tips guide at TheSketchUpEssentials.com/tips. Now let's go ahead and just jump into it. All right, so first things first, credit on this model. This is a 3D warehouse model from RA Design. It's the beach house, so you can search for this and download it and follow along if you want to. And so one of the things that you may find yourself wanting to do when you work with different models inside of SketchUp is you may want to change the colors of your different materials. And so if you remember, there's two different kinds of materials that SketchUp applies to faces. So the first kind of material is just a color. Right, so there's no texture material applied to that. So if you were to go into your materials section and you were to select a color, it would just apply a color to that. There's no texture, there's no image or anything like that. That's really easy to change the color of that material. You just go into the Edit tab and you can just adjust this based on the color wheel right here. Or you could do the same thing where you could just create a new material and then adjust the color wheel that way. So that's a very simple thing that you can do. Where this starts getting more complex is when you start applying SketchUp materials or other materials to faces. So like for example, let's say I was to apply this antique brick material to this face. And so if we apply this to these faces, what SketchUp is doing is it's taking this image and it's tiling it across this face. So it's just basically taking this image and slapping it on this face just like this. Well, what you can do is you can actually come in here and you can still use the color wheel to adjust the way that it's coloring this image. So you can see how by default this material has a color image that has a color that looks like this. And so if we were to change our style to something where our textures didn't load, then the faces would be in here just as that color because that's the color assigned to this material. So if you turn shaded using textures back on, then it loads this material image. Well, if you want to, you can actually come in and select a material like this, and you can use the color wheel to adjust the color of that material. So you can see how I can use this to change this brick material to kind of whatever color I want to. And so there's a little caveat to that, which is if you zoom in, you're going to notice that you get a lot of like weird color distortion on this face. So like for example, if you really zoom in, you've got some blues, but then you've got some kind of like weirdish greens and some other things like that, and it doesn't look very good. Well, what you can do in order to make that a little more uniform is you can go down and check this box for colorize. You can see how when I click the box for colorize, this is taking all of these materials and it's doing a better job of making them kind of this blue material. So you can see how now if I zoom out, this material is more of a blue instead of a blue with a bunch of like weird greens and other things like that. So you can use the color wheel to adjust this in order to make these colors or make this image a different color. And so let's look at this a little bit more practically now. Let's look at this house. And so like for this house, this is a really nice house model, and if you select this material, you can see how it has a certainteed shake shingle material applied to it. It's actually a pretty decent texture material. It's acceptably high resolution, so it actually looks good when you zoom in on it. But let's say that we wanted this house to be a different color. So let's say, for example, that we wanted this to be more of like a blue color or something like this. Well, all we would have to do is just come in here and select this with the eyedropper like this, and then go into your Edit tab, and you could just click and drag this until it's more of a blue. And we're going to make sure that we check the box for colorize, but you can see how you can actually adjust the color that's being applied to this texture. And so you can see how this looks really good. Well, you could take this even further if you wanted to, either using these tools right here or by using the RGB, and we'll talk about both. And so let's say, for example, that we wanted to go on a paint website, so like Sherwin-Williams website, and actually find a color. So this is Sherwin-Williams website, and you can click on a paint, and within that paint you can actually find different things about that paint color by selecting it and then going into the details. And so the first thing we could do is there's actually an option over here to match the color of a texture on the screen, or to match a color that's on the screen. And I'm going to pull this off to the side just so that I can click on it, because I don't think it's going to let me do it while it's on the screen. But let's say I wanted to match up with this blue color from Sherwin-Williams. Well, what I would do is I would select that button, and then I would click on the blue color from Sherwin-Williams, and you can see how it matched this color with the color on my screen. So now this and this are the same. So you could use that in order to match up to a certain color if you wanted to, or even better than that, if you were to pay attention to these values down here in the details, you can see how it gives you an RGB value and also a hex value. Well, those are the color values assigned to this color. So if you wanted to be really precise, what you could do is you could click on this drop down and go down to RGB. And you can see how this allows you to set the amount of red, green, and blue inside of this. Well, you could actually find the red, green, and blue of a real material in the real world and apply it to this. So then your SketchUp model would actually be matched up with what's shown in the Sherwin-Williams website. So you can actually see what this would look like with the real Sherwin-Williams color. So you could just type in 195 and 151 in here in order to colorize this the way that you want it to be. So, and you can really do this with any kind of material. So let's say, for example, that I was to come in here and we'll go ahead and we'll select all with same material. That's going to select all of this stone. And let's say I was to bring something in from my material library. In this case, I have a material from Polygon.com, which is going to be more of a higher resolution material. But let's say I wanted this to have these kind of rough red and white bricks in here. Well, I could click on this face and apply that, and I'm going to go ahead and adjust the size of this texture just a little bit. But if I wanted to, I could come in and I could actually use the color wheel to adjust the coloring of those bricks as well. So you can see how I can make these darker, I can give them more of a red tint, I could give them more of a blue tint, but you can see how right here I'm getting that weird distortion again. So we want to make sure we check the box for colorize. You can see how when I colorize this, then it looks a lot better. And so let's say for this case, we would probably want this to have maybe more of a lightish red or something like that if we wanted to do this. And so the last thing I want to show you real quick is, let's say you decided that you didn't like a color that you applied in here. Well, going back in here and finding that color again can be kind of difficult, right? You don't know exactly where this goes. Well, if you want to reset this to what it was, all you have to do is come down here to the option for reset color. And so when I reset the color, you can see how this takes that brick material and it automatically resets it to whatever it was originally. So if you ever make a change to a color using this option, you want to go back to what you had, you just click on reset color. So that's where I'm going to end this video. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought. Did you find this helpful? Did you know about this tip? I just love having that SketchUp conversation with you guys. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps, even if it's only $1 a month. So make sure you check out that link in the notes down below. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.